on YouTube, and I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint presentation uh, right now. Uh, and there we go. And there you go. There you go. So, first of all, welcome. I'm excited to have you to reinvent yourself, build a brand that gets results. The first thing I'm going to encourage you to do is to get a piece of paper, a pad, your iPad, a recording, something, because a lot of the information that we're going to cover the day today, you're going to be able to use and advance your brand. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take a poll. I want to see, I have a question to ask you. And the first question, and you should be seeing it right now, it's, do you have a brand? Do you have a brand? And that's a yes or no. And I am going to close the poll. And we have 100% said no, you don't have a brand. 100% said no. So let me ask you another question. Well, the second poll is irrelevant because let me show you what I was going to ask you. Secondly, I was going to ask you, can you describe your brand? But since 100% of you said you don't have a brand, then certainly you cannot describe it. However, it's going to be critically important in the branding process that you learn how to communicate what your brand is to others. And so let me close that poll. And the third poll would have been, is it relevant? And I'm going to bring it up so that you see. And of course, if you don't know you don't think you have a brand, if you don't know how to describe your brand, then you know it's not relevant. Those were the questions that I was going to ask. So obviously, you are absolutely in the right place. So let's talk about the deliverables. So, what I promised you is that I'm going to give you the 8 steps to building an effective brand. I'm also going to give you the factors that influence your brand and how to become more likable, marketable, and credible. Then I'm going to help you. This is something I've never done before, is I'm going to share with you high level how to craft a brand story. That is a very intimate and a pretty long process, but I'm going to give you some of the tools that you need to get started on your brand story. Also, I'm going to talk about how to position your brand and the marketplace, as well as the essentials before promoting your brand. I'm also going to share with you now this particular bullet, how to define who you want to be in the marketplace. That actually is connected with your brand story. So as you begin to think about, and I have a lot of questions throughout this presentation that's going to get you thinking about your brand, where you are, where you want to go, how you want to get there, you're going to be able to see some of the ways in which you can define yourself in the marketplace. And then I'm going to share with you the components to a brand package. Those were all the things that I promised you. You're going to get that and more. It may not necessarily be in that order, but I assure you, you're going to get it all. So let's get started. So first of all, let's think and pause for a minute and think about the world and where we are. It is changing very rapidly. Think about the industry, education, how education has changed. Now, administrators are trying to figure out, do we go back to school? Do we not go back to school? Think about how it's impacted the family life. Mothers now who work, now they're thinking, well, should I go back to work? Is it best for me to homeschool my child? We're thinking people who were in leadership position, they're saying, well, hmm, should I shift my profession because I no longer want the pressures? I know I'm really not interested in the shift. Think about how churches have changed. They're not necessarily meeting in person. And if they are having a service in person, then they're thinking they don't have all of the people there. They have to think about the welfare. How do I reach my congregants? How do I satisfy their spiritual needs? You think about business now. No, you think about what has happened with the Black Lives Matters movement, and you have organizations donating millions, some have reached $1 billion mark of monies that they're investing for training and development of their employees, to giving to organizations who, probably were struggling before the Black Lives Matters movement began, and not just so much that it began, because it's been in existence for, I think, since 2017, but what has happened as a result of the protests and the movement that has been created, how companies are changing. I mean, literally, how businesses are run in terms of restaurants. Any business that is out there that is going to survive has made a critical shift. So I want you to I want to pause for a moment and get you thinking about yourself, your business. If you're an employee, the company that you work for, how they are transitioning. What does that mean for you, and how can you help them solve their problems? Because a lot of them absolutely are staying up at night. You said I'm breaking up. Thank you. All right. So I'm talking. Am I still breaking up? Thank you for that. All right. All right. Can you hear me now? All right. There might be, I'm going to make sure that I'm not touching something because I see a little sound over here where my picture is. I might be touching something. It might be me. It's me. All right, let's talk about why branding. So I want to introduce you to Epps, Monique Epps. When she came to me back in 2015, she was in my Unbottle Your Genie, Design Your Brand Action Plan workshop. She's an introvert. And so she was kind of quiet, didn't say a whole lot. At that time, she was a program assistant. Well, in 4 months of her crafting a brand and learning how to effectively communicate the value that she brings, she decided she was going to leave the organization that kept overlooking her. She moved from program assistant to an assistant director's position. She interviewed for 2 jobs. She got both job offers. She took a job in New Jersey, and within 15 months, she became the director. She won Employee of the Year, as well as she was able to earn 113% pay increase. 113%. And since that time, she has had 2 pay increases and she's bought her own home. So, this is the value of branding. In case you've been wondering what has taken you so long, this is some of what you could be missing. I want to share with you another story about Deanna Wong, who came to me. I don't know if you're in a place where Deanna was a senior leader. She was a retired colonel, and she was also, she had some health issues. So she wanted to combine her leadership ability with her health, and how she was able to literally go from being in hospice to becoming to coming back to life. And so we worked with her in combining the two, and now she has increased her business by 900%. She is a expert for the media, and she coaches people all around the world. So now you wonder why branding. So let's talk about the factors that impact your brand, and I'm going to give you the why behind it. So when you think about a brand, your brand is your beliefs, your behaviors, and your response. Now, why is that true? Because what we believe about ourselves, not what we say we believe, not how we act, right? It's what we really believe about ourselves, about others, and about the world around us. It's an energy that we give off. That invisible energy, I don't care what's coming out of your mouth. People get it. They feel you. They feel if you're feeling desperate. They feel you if you're living the abundant life. They feel you as well as they see you. They see you, they feel you, and the combination thereof is very telling. So your beliefs, your true essence, dictates your behaviors and how you show up in the world. Based on how you show up, people respond to you in a particular way. Based on the way people respond to you, that's going to determine how you feel about yourself and how you show up in the next encounter. So get that, hold on to that, lock onto that, because I'm going to revisit that and why that's critically important as you build your likability factor. So I want to tell you about Mona. Mona came to me, and she was already very smart, very talented. She was considered, or she was voted to have one of the top, she was considered one of the top bloggers on the internet when she came to me. However, she wasn't making money. However, she wasn't feeling the power that of her message. And so what we did was, instead of starting with, okay, we're going to make you more likable, marketable, and credible, we started with what the branding process is about your beliefs in yourself, about understanding the impact of being uncertain. And so, as you see from what she says, we were able to break through so that her self-imposed limitations were lifted. And as a result, I can't even get a hold of Mona now. She is so busy, incredibly busy. We worked with her self-defeating behaviors. We moved into crafting a new mission, a message, value. Then we created the great website. We gave her a message. She landed her first speaking engagement just as a result of packaging, but starting with working on the inside. So let's examine your brand. Let's talk about it. So here's the first thing I want to ask you. What do you want your brand to do for you? If you had a brand, which you do, but you had the brand that you want, what do you want it to do for you? Where do you want to be? And you can post it in the chat if you like, if you're comfortable. I'd love to see some of the things that you're thinking. And then ask yourself, do you have what you need? Now, you may be thinking, yeah, I have what I need, but I just don't know. A promotion at work. Very good. Very good. Lisa, thank you. So when you think about, do you have what you need? Now, we know that we all have the capacity to get there, but are you aware of what you need to do, how you need to show up in order to get that promotion, Lisa? So let's talk about the 8 steps to branding and what that looks like. Travel internationally as a motivational expert on leadership and building self-confidence. I love that, John. Love that. So first of all, we're going to start with identifying, and that was the first step. What do? We ask, what do you want your brand to do for you? We've defined where you want to go. That's your endpoint. Then we're going to pinpoint where you are right now. Because by doing so, now we can assess what available resources you have in order to get there. Now, your available resources, what does that look like? Of course, your skills, your talents, your abilities, right? But also think about your brand equity. Think about your network. All right. So it goes deeper, and I'm going to give you a full list when I get into your brand package. But you want to assess your available resources, because when you think about where you are and where you want to go, I assure you, when you go through the process in its entirety, you will have a list so long, you're like, oh my God, everything I needed was sitting in front of me. And all I needed to do is be able to take the time to assess it and begin making steps towards where I want to go. The 4th step is to know your audience. Who are you talking to? Lisa says she wants a promotion at work. Do you want a promotion in the department that you are in currently? Do you want to work someplace else in a different area? We need to talk about alliances, partnerships, how to show up. What are some things that you can do to advance the person that you're trying to get their attention? So all of those are part, but you have to be clear on who you're talking to and what they want and what's going to speak to them at the time that you two are engaged, or if it's a big audience, the entire audience. And then we're going to package ourselves, right? You're going to package yourself. That's step 5. Step 5, package yourself. Very competitive within federal agency. I started meeting and establishing mentors. Awesome, Lisa. And it's interesting because Monique, she was in the federal system as well. And it looked difficult to her until she really became deliberate and intentional. And like I said, within 15 months, she had a 113% pay increase. So the process works. Process absolutely works. Position your brand. So I want you to pay attention to something here. So you're going to package yourself, but you're going to position your brand. Package yourself, position your brand. And then you're going to promote the value that you have to offer. And then you're going to commit to the journey, right? So before you do anything else, even though you have mentors, and that's great, wherever you are, let's start package yourself, position your brand, promote, and then commit to the journey. So I want to tell you a little bit about Doreen Jones. Doreen Jones came to me. She's a minister. She came to me. She was traveling all around the world and she was speaking, but wasn't being paid. In fact, sometimes she'd pay for her own travel because she was speaking to an audience that she assumed, mainly I think she assumed that people wouldn't pay. Well, within the first month of talking and coaching, she was able to establish a different presence and brand around communicating. So she signed 2 clients at $2,000 each. And then she signed her first gig at a university. So we were able to move that message to a paying audience. And then she was able to also negotiate, if I'm going to go and I'm going to go speak at a church, they still have money to pay you. I know because I've spoken at churches and I've done a day workshop for $3,500. May not sound like a lot, but it's a nonprofit versus a business that can pay you $7,000. So it's a difference, but you can still get paid. So I want to share with you my brand model. And this is how you become likable, marketable, and credible, right? So the first thing you're going to do is ask yourself, why am I here? Now, if you're already in your passion, you don't have to ask yourself, why am I here? Because I already know why I'm here. I know what I'm here to do, and I can effectively communicate it. However, if you're already in that senior leadership role and you say, I know why I'm here, now you have to ask yourself, why am I at the table? Why am I at the table? What value am I bringing? Why was I invited here? What is it that they like about what I'm doing, what I'm saying, how I'm showing up that is bringing value? Because I want to do more of what I've done to get what I've gotten, right? So you have to know your mission when you have to know your life mission, but also your mission when you're in that space. That's what's going to make you likable, right? And remember, the only reason why you're likable is that you bring value to somebody else's life, right? So people's perception of you is based on how your behaviors impact their life, right? A person's perception of you is based on how your behaviors impact their life. So you want to make sure that you're very deliberate and intentional about that. But this is what's interesting about the likability factor. People can like you and never call. What is that? Why is that so? Perhaps because you don't have your marketability factor quite where you need it to be. Or you're so busy trying to be liked by everyone that no one really knows the value that you bring. So when you think about and you ask yourself, I come that you may do what? I come that you may be inspired. I come that you may take the complexity of marketing and branding and increase your income by becoming more likable, marketable, and credible. I come, right? So I come so that what will happen? So the marketability factor is, where do you lead people to when they're in your presence? And one of the things that I want to share with you, we talk about, Lisa mentioned the fact that she wanted a promotion, and I love that. That's me. That's what I want to do. So when you think about, David, I'm not sure exactly what that is. Maybe I said something that triggered it, but please let me know what it is that you want to do. So when you think about your message, where you lead people to, be very present. Be very present to the fact that you can have all of these people liking you, but people are connected to people. So when you go behind someone's back and talk about them, it impacts your brand, not the other person, your brand. So just be aware of that. So no matter who you're talking to, be clear on where you lead them to. What is your message to them? That's your markability factor. And then you have to ask yourself, what results do you create? I'm very good friends with a CEO. Well, he used to run $1 billion company, but now he is a senior leader, still manages a $1 billion operation, and just has been given $100 million by a corporation to run. The CEO called him in the office and said, "Hey, I want you to disperse this $100 million." I said to him, big problem, big problem. But he shared with me something very interesting, because he's like we kind of talk to mentor each other. He shared with me the importance of making a list or identifying a title, your title, what you were brought in to change, and then how you were able to change it. And when you look at that, you are real clear on the value that you bring, which is your credibility factor. I want to share with you a little bit about Dr. Audrey Sherman. Dr. Audrey is a psychologist, had worked for other companies, decided she wanted to launch her business. She had already written a book called Dysfunction Interrupted. And so I worked with her, rebranded her, and now, and then she started speaking, and then COVID hit, and now she's, pivoting and going online. But this is the importance of being clear on your mission, your message, your value, because what she sold when she was working for somebody, she couldn't sell. She had to repackage it. And that's one of the biggest challenges right now, is that you could be, many people are still saying the same thing. Everything has shifted. Your message has shifted. So whereas you launched your business, say, on bullying, right? People are still bullied at work. However, it's more culture, right? How can culture, climate, or diversity and inclusion, right? So the words you choose to speak to your market is very important as well. So your package. So I'm going to give you what would be in your package. But first, I want to share with you or ask you some questions so that you are able to identify where you are. So what is the signal? What is the signal that you're sending? What is the message that you're sending to people? Are you approachable? Are you non-approachable? Is it deliberate? Is it intentional? Are you just what do you convey? What is the message? And that message includes not just what you do verbally, it's how you show up non-verbally as well. Very critically important. The second question I want you to ask yourself: why would somebody want to spend time with me? Why? Because when you get really clear on why someone would want to spend time with you, you're going to be in a phenomenal place. Phenomenal place, because you know why people want to be in your presence and the value that you bring to them. But also you get much value because you're very passionate about it. I work as a chief corporate responsibility officer, just got the job about 6 months ago, ran my business for 15 years. And interesting, I think it was heaven sent that I happened to see something that I thought was intriguing and decided to apply, and I could do my business as well as work this position. So I'm in the quote C-suite, right? But in order for me to really sell, I had to pivot my conversation. And when you're talking to a group of people applying for a job versus one. So my audience, right, are the people who want to build a brand. But that organization didn't necessarily want to build a brand. They wanted somebody who really understood how to connect and engage with people. So how do you communicate who you are at your core to the right audience in the right way to get the response that you're looking for? And then you have to ask yourself, do you need to pay closer attention to what you're doing and what you're saying. It's interesting because I have worked with many groups across this country as well as internationally, corporations. I've worked with over 100 clients across 9 industries. And it's interesting how much people don't know about the message that they're sending and how they become more present when they don't get the promotion, or people don't call on them in the boardroom, or when they're not getting the response that they want to get, then they become present. So it's critically important that we all become present now. Be valued enough to be sought after and paid for the work I do. Got it, David. So, your brand package, of course, that's your appearance, right? How you show up in terms of your dress. Now, obviously, it's changed, and this new generation, God bless them. I mean, they come with tattoos and earrings in their nose and their ears. They come, that's who they are, and the marketplace is accepting them. There. However, I come from a different generation. I show up differently. But I think that what happens a lot of times is the places that accept you, like your Googles, Twitter, and think about the pivot that has happened. Think about this. There are companies that are now saying you can work from home. So, you know, your appearance can be as authentic as you want it to be, because like Twitter, they're saying, hey, you know what? You don't have to come back to work. Just work from home. And we can do this. We've done it for the last 3 months and we can make it permanent. So also the energy. Now, I am absolutely a high energy person. Anybody who knows me know I'm high energy, right? So you have to roll with me, right? And then I have to slow down. When I'm in the corporate setting, I slow down so people can get it. But I am high energy. It is my style. I've always been that way. And so I know that about me. So I have to be, you'll notice that sometimes I'll take a breath. I'm like, okay, I have to slow down and be a little bit more deliberate and intentional with with what I'm saying so that people can catch up, right? So sometimes if I'm, speaking to a particular audience, I may present that way, but for the most part, I'm high energy and you're going to feel it, right? So hopefully you're feeling it today. And then composure. In this book, my latest book, I write about executive presence. And executive presence really is an ongoing journey because I believe it's becoming self-aware of who you are and how you're showing up in the world. So I want to share with you this. This is Dr. Janice Burlando. And Janice came to me after she was released from a job and she had applied for different jobs. She had been in a workshop, and in that workshop, I gave her 30-minute session with me. And so she came to me and said, I need that 30 minutes. And we totally rewrote her resume and put all value proposition in there. And it just totally shifted. She started getting calls, and needless to say, she was a final candidate and she landed a position. So a lot of times branding has nothing to do with how smart you are, what you don't. It's a very specialized skill to know and understand how to package, position, promote yourself, write a mission statement, craft a message, and articulate your value in such a way to get people engaged and wanting to talk to you. So I want to share with you, before I go to positioning, I promised you I'd give you the list of the package. So here goes. Are you ready? You have your vision, your mission, your value. You have your value proposition. You have your brand story. You have your brand promise. You have your brand personality. Within your brand personality, you have your presence. You have your presence. You have your persona in there. You have your brand equity. You have your and that's oh, okay, and your communication style, right? Your attitude. So all of those things are wrapped into your brand package and knowing how to effectively communicate. All right. So craft a compelling brand story. That's number one, because people have become storytellers. And when you can tell a story in a compelling way, not just a story, but your story, because we all have them, right? We have experiences, we have life lessons, we have what we learned, we have a character, we have an antagonist, we have our up moment, our down moment within that story. How do you write it? And how do you write it in a way that is compelling? Secondly, you have to communicate and market your expertise effectively. So when you get the question, most often people will ask you, what do you do for a living? And you'll say, well, I'm a director, I'm a vice president, I'm a CEO, right? You will tell them your title. That's not the question. The question is, what do you do? What you do is increase your clients' income and influence by becoming more likable, marketable, and credible, right? So when people meet me, they ask me, what do I do? I help people to increase their income and influence by becoming more likable, marketable, and credible. And without fail, they will say, do you have a business card? So really craft a compelling message, that mission statement, so that when you're clear on your mission and people say, what do? You can say it off the top of your head. Be consistent in who you are. There's nothing worse than expecting one thing and getting another. Then use social media productively. You've seen the people who will post about their dog and their cat and their food and all of that. Really, what I believe, if you really want to craft a brand, is that you want social media to work for you. And now more than ever, it's time to make that pivot, because social media, we don't have networking events like we used to. So your social media is really people's intro to you. And I will tell you, 70% of all employers will look at your before they hire you, they will look at your social media, because social media tells your story and communicates to people what's important to you. Build partnerships. I can't put enough emphasis about that. I literally built partnerships with people. Now, I've had, and you probably have had, people who will approach you about, hey, I want a partner. However, what is the value that they bring? What is your agenda? What is their agenda? Do you share similar values? As a result of a partnership that I agreed, someone asked me to come on board. He actually paid me to come on board to do some work. You'll meet him later in the presentation. And ultimately signed my first book deal with Wiley as a result of being on his platform. So his platform put me in front of 100,000 people. I believe never partner down, always partner up. That's not necessarily true. It's just my particular belief and how I believe you should do things, because you want to continue to advance forward. Leverage the equity of people who respect you. Linda had talked about Lisa had talked about the fact that she's getting mentors. Lisa, take a step further. You're going to need a sponsor, because somebody has to wear your t-shirt. A mentor is a person. I know my husband is with federal government. He is an SES and he mentors a lot of people. But whose t-shirt is he wearing? All right. And there's a difference, because a mentor simply meets with you and tells you, they look at where you've been, where you want to go, and say, hey, take this step, take this step, take that step. However, when they sponsor you, they take you in the boardroom and they advocate for you. And that's going to be critically important. And that means that they are using their brand equity with everybody at the table to say, you are the person that needs to be hired. You're welcome, Lisa. Be authentically yourself. Say no to opportunities that don't match your mission and message because it takes you off a path and you veer off somewhere. And then you say, I want to be an international speaker, or I want to write a book, or I want to be the go to expert. And you're over there trying to help somebody way over there. Somebody is over there to help them. Get in your place, get in alignment, and deliver value and create a following. And I'm not talking about just a following, but people who will show up, not people who will like, because people will like, if you say, oh, it's my birthday today, you'll get 200 likes. But if you tried to have a webinar, nobody would show up. Or if you had an event, nobody shows up because they're just liking. You want to create so much value that people want to engage with you again. So brand story, let's talk a little bit about that and how it works. So I was fired from a job, and I have about, we have 20 minutes left in this. I was fired from a job, and I was diagnosed as being depressed, and that's that young lady there. I was on a job, I was being bullied. Very young, I was a director, but I was an advisor to the university's president, right? So I advised the president. So what happens when you're young and you have power? Right? You become a target. So my immediate supervisor would humiliate me in front of my staff and critique my work that was just demeaning. I had just lost everything that I had learned about believing in myself and feeling good about myself. It was just melting away as a result of being in this space. And so I eventually got fired from the job. They wanted me to resign. The president's office wrote a letter of resignation. I refused to sign it. So I said, you want to fire me? Fire me. So I got fired. And so I went home to figure out what's next. And that's where There Is More Inside was born, right? And that was my original tagline, There Is More Inside. And the name of my first book, which was birthed out of this place of pain. So I took this experience of being bullied on my job, humiliated from my staff, and I thought I could craft a story from that. And that's exactly what I did. So think of the millions of people who have been in that situation who never, or they don't know how to craft a message. So I took it and I looked at the high point of my experience. I looked at the low point and the things that happened in the middle. And I pulled out who else. I asked myself some questions, and I'm going to bring them up now. Here are the questions you need to ask yourself. What happened? Why did it happen? How did I feel as a result of what happened? Who else would have that experience? And what can I do to prevent it from happening or it happening to somebody else? Or if it's a positive experience, how can I make it happen for somebody else? Depends on what you're bringing to the person's life, right? So when you ask yourself those questions, what comes out of that is an understanding of what happened, why it happened, what I felt as a result, and who I can help as a result of what happened to me. And then when you're at the table, you can pull that experience as well as different lessons. So a part of the lesson was culture. A part of the lesson was, how leadership is developed. Like there's so many different lessons, and based on those lessons and the different stories, I'm able to communicate and deliver different services to different audiences. I want to share with you now, here's what's difficult about the process of crafting a story. Sometimes it's very difficult because you have not connected the dots of your life. So I was working with Dr. Kwame, and Dr. Kwame says that the right questions provides the precise feedback that is needed for no excuses, for you to move your life forward. He was already an author, he was already a thought leader, but he really wanted to shift and bring about STEM. He wanted to help eighth graders who were having trouble in math become better at it. And crafting the story took us a while because he had forgotten the pain he experienced as a young boy trying to learn math. And when he got it and he was able to connect it and effectively communicate it, ah, that's when the clients start coming and started paying him for the value that he brings. All right, the principles for brand promotion. Number one is be likable. Oprah says it best when she says that people want to know, do you see me? Do you hear me? And do I matter? Do you see me? Do you hear me? And do I matter? I know that's not the quote there, but that's really sums it up. And then also be marketable. Know what your agenda is, and also seek to discover what the agenda is of the other person. It's really funny. I don't have time to go through it. I really wanted to go through this. It's in this book, though, where I talk about brand positioning for transition, transformation, and change. I'll highlight it very quickly. I talk about, takeovers come, there's market movement, there's a wave. It can come in a wave, a storm, or a tsunami, and you have to be prepared. Here are some things you need to do. Keep your eyes on your target. Keep focus on the organization. If you work for somebody, what is their focus? What are they trying to do? And also realign your brand, minimize your distractions, and control what you can control. And obviously, I go through all that. I don't have time now, but that is what keeps you in a place of being likable, marketable, and credible, is that you're able to make swift shifts to meet the need of the market based on the value you bring and your passion. So the brand promotion essentials. Here's what you're going to need. Self-awareness. You have to be aware of what you're doing, what you're saying, and how you're showing up. You have to understand your market, how to speak to them, what's going to make them carry your message. Likable is one thing. Remember, likability is not going to get you there. You have to have all three. You have to be likable, marketable, and credible. You have to have a mission, a message, and value. And you have to be able to communicate those things. This all links back to that. If you take that brand model that I created in 2011, if you take that brand model, I don't care how you do it, those components, all 6 of those components have to be present in order for a brand to thrive and remain relevant. And then you have to develop effective communication skills, how you communicate with people, the tone that you use, the facial expression, the diction. All of it plays a role in how people see you, how they perceive you. Are you a senior leader? I don't know where you are, Lisa, in terms of your promotion, but if you want to get to that level, do you exhibit executive presence? And how do you exhibit it? Crafting a compelling message. Remember, I shared with you what do you do? Right? Calculate your value proposition. Know what it is, your value. How much is it worth? And then have confidence and faith in who you are, and also that you are totally supported in this process spiritually. God, whatever you believe in, right? All right. So Steve Harrison, he is the mastermind behind Chicken Soup for the Soul, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And he hired me to coach his clients. And I worked for him, I think like 5 years, coaching his clients specifically on branding, how to launch a speaking business, how to expand their brand. That is my talent. That's my gift. I can hear what you're saying, even when you don't say it. It's just I think a gift that probably, I think it's a gift from God. So he hired me to work with his folks. Next. All right. Your brand equity. I promise that. So here's what you have to get. And I normally ask people, but you have to know that your relationships is the most valuable asset that you have. The most valuable asset that you have. Then it's your expertise, your experiences and reputation that will influence others. And then it's your innovative ideas, your intellectual property, and skills, talents, and abilities. So those are the three that includes your brand equity. And then you break them out, right? You break them out, make lists, and really identify where you are and the value that you bring. All right, so I want to do another poll here. I want to ask you a question. All right, so right now, I am asking you, does your brand need a makeover? So even if you don't have a brand, you have a brand, right? And your brand is either working for you or it's not working for you. You have to decide on whether it's relevant or not. And 100% said, yes, yes, I need a brand. I need to make over my brand. All right, I'm going to close the poll and I am going to share with you an opportunity to literally build an action plan for your brand. So it's not just, you can go through the process on your own, or you can go through the process with a group of other people who are going through the process. Now, what I want to do, I want to share my screen very quickly. Share your screen, and we're there. So here's where you go. srenee.com, right here you see it, srenee.com events. Here's what's going to happen. I am going to be presenting. It's literally 10 hours with a very small group of people, very small, because you need to walk out with that plan. You need to walk out with clarity on how to answer the question, what do I do? You need to walk out with a brand story. You need to walk out clear about who you are, how you show up, and the value that you bring to your audience. It's going to be 3 hours on Tuesday and evening, 5 to 8, Thursday, 5 to 8, and then a Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12. 10 solid hours of communicating and really crafting. We're going to help you to develop a compelling presence. We're going to help you to strategically increase your visibility. How, John, do you become more visible so that you become that international leader? And guess what? Today, you don't even have to leave your home to do that. You can touch people anywhere in the world. Mona is from Canada. I never traveled to Canada to talk to Mona. Literally everything done online. If you want to travel, you can when things open up, or if you're traveling now, you can. Certainly, I have been on that journey. But also you can reach people right from the comfort of your home if you want to do it, start now. Also, how do you become an industry expert? Remember Deanna Wong, who was a retired colonel struggling to be heard, seen, and valued for all her life experiences in leadership, eventually started getting books, started being on television shows, etc. And then, make a good impression on leadership, through this process. Stand up, speak out. Also, you see the list. I'm not going to go through them, like talk you through them, but this is really all about how to take all of these processes and get into the grit of the work to elevate yourself. So I am going to develop the results. So I want to share with you, I want to play this. I hope you can hear it. It's 1 minute.
You're in the process of trying to reinvent who you are, reinvent your life, unbottle the genie that's on the inside of you is the best session that you'll ever experience.
This was an experience I definitely didn't expect. The connection with people, the advice she gave, the 30-day challenge is excellent, and I encourage you to just go for it.
Yeah, a lot. Just around the tables, we had a great conversation, and the leadership that Renee was doing in the meeting, I think, brought a lot of little things out through the workbook. Just about myself, I think I hindered myself. I think it's one of the questions in there that biggest problem is me. I got to get over my problems.
I was coming out of a workshop today by Renee. Very, very profound, very life-changing, life-forming. Encourage anyone who can participate to participate. It's worth
I
it.
think what I discovered new about myself is I think I've been holding myself back and not realizing the full potential that I have for myself. So by the questions that were asked and what we had to think about really made me think that I can do what I put my mind to. I just have to put my full effort into it, and then I could reach any dream that I want to reach.
Really learned a lot, especially the uncertainty piece, that I had a lot of uncertainty, and I have more confidence in what it is that I want to do and what I will achieve. And believe me, in the next 30 days, I'm going to put it into action.
All right, so you have that. And then you have some of the testimonials down here as well. So what does it cost? It's $4.98. Now I want to put this in perspective. The $4.98. I want to put this in perspective for you because let's cancel this. All right. Oh, permission denied. Okay. All right. So everyone's still there. All right. So I want to put this in perspective for you because I think it's critically important to, I'm going to go back to my screen because I guess it kind of disappears. So this is my first time doing this. I want to put this in perspective because it's $4.98, which is like extremely reasonable. And let me share with you why. I want to take you to this slide right here. This is SHRM. I created this process, Unbottle Your Genie, Design Your Brand Action Plan. And I took it to Delaware, Philadelphia, Virginia, I think back to Delaware. And so I tested the program. Once it was tested, SHRM wanted to buy it. I decided I didn't want to sell it at the time. So we repackaged it. It's now called Senior Leader something. You may not be able to see it, but if you Google SHRM, Senior Leaders Program, Renee, you will see it costs $2,770 to take that program. And it's the same program. It's the program that I built. So I know that the value per person for this program is $2,770. And you can take this program for $4.98. $4.98. So that's all I have. The questions I want to see, I want to bring back, I want to come back and I want to find out if you have questions. Questions. Okay, there we go. Cancel. There you go. Okay, I am back. So I want to know if you have questions. If you will put them in the chat, I'm happy to begin to answer questions for the next. I don't see the list. Split screen is not split. Uh-oh. Can we get a copy of the presentation? Dates. Okay, the dates are on the page. The dates are, and I'm going to go, Robert, back to you. It is Tuesday. It starts Tuesday of next week. Let me see. I'll tell you right now. Tuesday the 14th, Thursday the 16th, and Saturday the 18th. And the you go to the website, go to events. It's not live, it's done all online. Can you get a copy of the presentation? It will be, because we are live. I missed the 9th brand position move. You missed the 9th brand position move. Okay, let's see here. Let's go back to the presentation. Share your slide presentation. All right, let's see here. Let's go back. Let's open the file and let's go back to the 9th. Let's see here. Okay. The 9th. The 9th is deliver value, create a following. Deliver value, create a following. Will you have other dates in the future? Probably, Lisa, great question. What I'm looking at, we have some people registered. Again, there are, so I don't know if I'm going to do it again. What I know I will do is I'm going to create an online program that will include some coaching. So yes, possibly. But I know I'm doing this one live, but of course, today, in today's world, we're trying to duplicate ourselves. And the way to duplicate myself is to record it and then package it and sell it. So certainly it will be available at some point in that form. If I do it, I will probably do it in the fall. If I do it again in September. So certainly stay on the list. In terms of getting the presentation, it will be available on my YouTube channel because it's recording there. So feel free to go to YouTube and record. Any other questions? It is 3:01. Any other questions? Somebody said something about the, I'm going to put in the chat where you can go to, when I was sharing my screen, you couldn't see. So I'm putting in the chat right now where you can go. So, and let me put HTTPS. All right. And I'm going to send it. Deadlines for sign up. Oh, well, it starts on Tuesday and Sunday is the deadline. I want to be able to send you some things. So by Sunday, if you don't sign up by Sunday, then it's going to close and I'll work with the people that I have. I just encourage you to sign up as soon as possible so I can get you some of the materials. You don't need to read the books before that time, but I at least want you get 2 copies of my books for that. And also forgot to mention, for those who sign up from this webinar, you'll get a free 30-minute coaching call with me after you go through the process, just as a follow-up. All right. Thank you all for attending. I appreciate it. I wish you the best. And remember to reinvent yourself and build a brand that gets results. Take care. Absolutely. My pleasure, Lisa.